Sport has changed us all. This is something that every single person in this room has an idea about how sport has impacted our lives. It's a deeply rooted love and fandom that we all carry. There is no city in the country that understands this love better than the city of champions. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with over 16 professional sports titles, loves their teams and deeply values their community. And they know one thing: it's time to celebrate. It's time to celebrate our sports, it's time to celebrate our community, and it's time to celebrate our history. For the city that has had the first professional football game, that has hosted the first World Series in the United States, it is time to host the first birthday party for sports. Now, you may be asking yourself, why a birthday party? Well, when you think of a birthday party, everybody already has the image in their mind. Everybody's already experienced one of these before. Especially for marketing, being able to have an instant brand recognition of a reputation that we want to be able to build for this event. And why Pittsburgh? Well, Pittsburgh isn't the birthplace of sport, but you also don't celebrate your birthday in the same place that you were born. You really be able to find a way to immerse yourself in the culture, the arts, the history, and the experience around Pittsburgh. Our team, comprised of diverse individuals, has really risen to the challenge of being able to build a 3-day, 2-night event that's able to capitalize on being able to bring people to Pittsburgh in and out of town. After talking with our client, Sport Pittsburgh, we were able to identify 3 key objectives: the people, being able to drive the attendance and be able to increase the number of hotel stays; the city, creating positive economic impact and gaining good brand reputation; and finally, the future. Find a way to make the event self-sustaining and to be able to have an annual repetition of the event so we can keep growing this for future generations.
As mentioned, our client was Sports Pittsburgh, and we want to identify that they are part of Visit Pittsburgh. And what's really important about this is they're currently funded by the Pittsburgh hotel tax. So as we go throughout this presentation, we're really going to drive home the fact that we're trying to build individuals that are going to stay at hotels. We want to increase that hotel revenue to then go back to Sport Pittsburgh. So while we're going through this presentation, you'll see numerous aspects where we're tying that connection back to driving the number of stays. So today we're going to focus on the city of Pittsburgh and what makes it so special. As you can see in this picture, Pittsburgh has this location on 3 rivers, and at Point Place Park is where we're really going to focus the rest of this presentation, because what other city has an amazing location like that? They, as Quinn mentioned, also have this cultural phenomenon of art and science and sports, so let's capitalize on that. So before we get into the logistics and itinerary of the event, we want to mention that we're going to really revolve around data collection, because an event of this size really needs to capitalize on that. We're going to utilize data collection through our virtual ticket, which, as pictured here, will include the demographic and information of our different participants, and then once they fill this out, it will turn into a QR code that they'll scan to get into different events, whether it's free or paid. Every event you're trying to go to, you'll scan your QR code so we can track where they're attending. So now let's dive into this. We're at a birthday party. We're celebrating the birthday of sport. So let's have fun. You know, when you first get to a birthday, you're meeting and greeting, trying to create that social atmosphere, getting away from that awkwardness. So let's do a kickoff. At the point, we're going to have a welcome party, and this is going to be the opening of the huddle. The huddle is our central hub, and you can think of it as the central party room. When you're at a party, the place that has the food, it has the events, like this is our main hub that's going to be going on throughout the entirety of the weekend. This is going to have constant activity. And then we're also going to focus on one big event every day, because remember, we're pushing that hotel stay. So we don't want them to come to one event and then leave the next day. We want them to come back day after day. So after the welcome party, our big event for Friday is this boat parade. Since we're a city with 3 rivers, why not capitalize on that? So let's do a lighted boat parade that involves locals that allow them to compete and decorate their boat for who has the best decoration, but also involve non-locals by doing a partnership with some local boat companies to make them a part of it. So let's light up Pittsburgh with this event and really emphasize what makes Pittsburgh unique. Now on to day 2. We've already gone past the social awkwardness of the birthday party, and now we're just ready to have some fun with our friends. So in day 2, we're going to have events at the main stage at that huddle throughout the entirety of the day, such as yoga, dance competition. But we're also going to utilize kind of like an explore the city style with our choose your own adventure. This is going to consist of a scavenger hunt that consists of sports and history of the city if you're into that. Or if you're a foodie and you want to experience the food and drink and pub culture of the city, go on the pub and food crawl. We also want to feature non-traditional sports because this is a very inclusive event. So we don't want to keep it to traditional sports. So we're going to have an esports hub that is at that main hub throughout the day. And then, everyone asks, is like hot dog eating, pierogi eating contest a thing? Is it a sport? Well, we're making it one during our celebration. So we're doing a pierogi eating contest to make it like in line with the culture of Pittsburgh. And then finally, we're gonna wrap it up with a big party at the end. Keep people there late so they have to stay that night and be there until the next day. So we picked Wiz Khalifa because he is local to the Pittsburgh area and he kind of creates that atmosphere. And who better to scream black and yellow than Wiz Khalifa at our first concert? And this concert will be at PPG Arena because we think it'll create that intimate atmosphere, but also make it a paid event to build revenue. Then finally, day 3 is this day of community. You're at a birthday party because you want to celebrate being with each other in that social atmosphere. So we're really emphasizing the community in this one. So one of our first activations that we want to do is bring back some retired athletes for autograph sessions, a chance to kind of talk about their experiences. Someone we think that would be really amazing is like Billie Jean King, who's a generational athlete and can connect the young and the old and create that like family-friendly atmosphere. And you can't have a birthday without cake, so a way to get people to come back to the hub after they've explored the city is we're just going to do a little cake pop celebration. And at this time, we're going to create this collectible, one-of-a-kind item that people can buy with a collectible medal that will be created by a local artist to help uplift the economy. And we just wanted to quickly address the market size. So currently we're shooting for 80,000, but we want to show the potential growth by looking at our different sport fans from the tri-state, the US, and the North American market. Now we understand 405 million seems like an absurd amount, and we're not shooting for that. We just want to show the potential that could happen with this event.
Yeah, so as Lauren mentioned, that addressable market is huge. But when we were figuring out how are we going to really attract 80,000 people to our event, we really wanted to focus on 4 key consumer markets. Of course, our event is sport focused, but that wasn't the only mindset of the consumer that we wanted to focus on. We want our event to really be all encompassing. So we wanted to focus on the family friendly, the foodies, and the cultural enthusiasts as well, and really showcase Pittsburgh in that way. When looking at how our event relates to other events in Pittsburgh and how we truly think we stand out, we think that we sit at the epicenter of these 4 key consumer mindsets. So other events in Pittsburgh offer great things and other attractions that sit for the sports fanatic, the foodie, or the cultural enthusiast, and they are family friendly, but none of them really sit at the core center, and that's where we truly think we differentiate ourselves and how we can showcase Pittsburgh as being a cultural phenomenon. So how will we attract these people? When looking at the buyer's funnel, we really want to focus at that top level and building awareness around this event, especially as it hasn't been done before. And then we want to push them down that funnel and reach them to coming to the event and purchasing a ticket and really experiencing what we think is going to be a great experience. So how we achieve this? Well, first, our idea was to advertise on the New Heights podcast. And this is because the Kelsey brothers, who are local to this area in the Midwest, they have a great reputation and just were named the #1 sports podcast. Additionally, I want to point out the social media targeted ads and the billboards to get that out of area fan to really want to come to Pittsburgh and be a part of the fun. Next, as we move down the funnel, we really want to be involved in the community and show ourselves doing little pop-up events and showcase what this event can be and how special it can be with experiential marketing, specifically in the Pittsburgh area. As we go down that funnel, we want to make sure that people love our event and that they really will want to stay and become loyal fans. These are just some examples of that awareness piece, and we've really chosen to do these billboards to showcase some examples of guerrilla marketing and how we can you go back. Thanks. And use that guerrilla marketing and not necessarily partner with these sports fans, but we can be in these major cities and find that fan who wants to come to Pittsburgh who is outside of the area. So our estimated reach, we really chose to focus that budget of 150,000 in marketing. We wanted to focus that on gaining that awareness funnel of the buyer's funnel. So with that, we think that we can reach over 2.68 million people that are interested in this event to build that attendance and reach that attendance goal of 75,000. Now, with this, we do want to point out that there are some internal and external constraints in this. And although we are very optimistic about reaching all these consumers and figuring out who's interested in this event, we do want to point that out. So I'll start with some strengths of this event. We really think that this is repeatable and reoccurring. A birthday inherently is annual. You expect that to be year after year after year. So we really think that can be repeatable. And we think that we have accessible and diverse offerings that really showcase Pittsburgh as a whole and allow us to stand out and be that sports place that everyone wants to come to. A lot of our weaknesses have to do with us being in our first year of this event. We've got to build awareness and build a strong brand around this. And a lot of that has to do with what our marketing goals are and how we think we can build excitement around this. We think we have some great opportunities. As Lauren mentioned, this target demographic is giant, and we really think that we can extend that market and increase attendance year over year. And then with that, we can increase our partnerships. As far as threats, there's threats of those conflicting events and other things going on. And then also, we feel that this could be replicable in other cities, but we really think that Pittsburgh has that cultural phenomenon that makes it what it is, and we plan to trademark this event.
So if anyone's feeling a little sleepy, it's time to talk about money. So for this event, we had an allocated budget of $800,000. And as you guys can see on our slide, we detailed and listed our budget out very carefully. We ended up using the entire budget that we were allocated, but like I said, we did it with purpose. And so what we wanted to do was make sure that each part of our budget was dedicated to those foodies, the cultural enthusiasts, those sports fanatics, but also make this event family friendly. It's a birthday party. So as you can see, we listed them out and we used market research and comparables in order to allocate this money and give estimates and projections that are somewhat accurate. Now, this event needs to be revenue generating, and so it has to be an event that we can simulate and continue to do year over year. And so what we did is we didn't just generate one revenue stream, but we have multiple. So again, as you can see on our slide, we have different forms of revenue on the left-hand side that continue to form and generate revenue each year that we conduct this big birthday party bash. We'll go back really quick, please. On the right-hand side, you can see that it's our ticket strategy. And so on our ticket strategy, we actually break them out into different categories. We have that media pass, we have the Hall of Famer, and we have the foodies. Each of these passes have different attributes and are unique to that pass itself. So people can either buy these passes beforehand, buy them day of, but the unique portion of our event is it's also free. And so the events that Lauren had listed earlier, those are not free events. You get access with those for the pass. However, if you want to go in the huddle, you want to experience, you want to be with the community, you can still walk up to the event day of, submit that information that we have available on the QR code, get that QR code to go back into the event and roam around, hang out with everyone. And so anyone that's walking around Pittsburgh that day can join our event for free. Now, I would be remiss not to mention our partnership strategy. And so what we did is we broke our partnerships out into 4 different tiers. And we obviously made a sports play on each of them. So we have our gold, our silver, our bronze, and our partner pass. And unique to our ticket strategy, each of these partnership strategies also have attributes that are unique specific to their level. And so those that would invest in the gold would get different attributes than those that would invest in the partner strategy. And I want to show that we were very careful about the partners that we did select, and they are unique to Pittsburgh, have a feel, have a tie back to Pittsburgh, so we still want to drive that culture. However, each of these companies have power for the people, they're doing good for the community, and some of which I assume the entire room potentially recognizes are nationally recognized brands, which would help drive the awareness for this event itself. We're proud to say that in the first year of our event, based on our projections, it actually would have a net income that's positive. Not very many events of this magnitude can run with net positive revenue generation, and we're very excited to say that our estimates conclude that ours could. Additionally, what we want to talk about is the economic impact that this would provide to Pittsburgh. And so therefore, if we brought 80,000 attendees to year one, the economic stimulation would be wildly successful. it would have 9.5 million estimated revenue or money spent from these attendees throughout the economy. And that relates to transportation, bars and restaurants, and especially lodging, which is one of our big concerns. Of those 80,000, this is where a lot of the hotel revenue generation would come from. It's the 12,000 out-of-town individuals that would stay overnight. So as you can see on the bottom of the slide, and for those in the back, 2.8 million spent for the attendees that are coming from out of town of economic stimulation. So of that, the revenue generation from the hotel portion, which feeds directly into Sports Pittsburgh, is dramatic. And lastly, everyone in this room knows that data is driving all decisions right now. And so if we put on an event of this magnitude and we didn't tie data back into some of the things that we were capturing, it would be a failure. And so each of the components that we talked about today have a data piece tied to it that we're tracking throughout the event. So what we have listed right here is one of the in and out marketing KPIs. And what I want to touch on is the post-event survey. Because of the ticket system that we have in place, we capture emails from every single attendee. And so we can send post-survey follow-ups to see how the event went and how we can get better in the future birthday parties that we celebrate. Additionally, like our ticket system, we think this is a really key and core strategy that we have. We can track where attendees go throughout the course of the 3 days. We can track their demographics, which they have to submit when they get this ticket. And lastly, we can measure some ROIs that are important for any stakeholders that are involved. Lastly, hotels. We want to track hotel usage and stays before, during, and after the event. I think this gives us a really quick and easy way to know how many attendees come to Pittsburgh for this event itself. And lastly, a lot of hotels do surveys of how the reception of their local city is. So therefore, individuals that came for our event could take a survey about Pittsburgh after and see how their perception has either changed or enhanced due to our birthday bash.
So now where do we go from here? Wanting to be able to build this event annually, we really want to be able to focus on where we can be able to grow. We're thinking in the second year, starting partnerships with some of the pro teams in the area, being able to bring them in to help bring a revenue draw. Being able to host youth tournaments so people are able to come, bring their kids, and be able to see sports in one of its most purest and authentic forms. And then in the second year, this is where we really think we have the chance to truly make a global phenomenon. This would be the only annual celebration of sports in that form. So we believe that we can be able to increase our marketing globally, inviting champion teams, and be able to invite fans from all over the world to make this event truly magnificent. So listen, it's time to change the game. It's time to celebrate with us here in Pittsburgh. We truly believe that Pittsburgh is the perfect home for what we're doing here. The perfect epicenter between sports, culture, arts, and community. We know that this event can be super successful, and we know that it can bring people who may not have visited Pittsburgh previously to see what an amazing city that it is. It's time for us to change the game, and it's time for us to celebrate in Pittsburgh.
But they never did, living and growing and limited till it broke up and it rained down. It rained down like rain. I let the waters down, let them rain.
Thank you all so very much for your time, and we'll open to any questions you may have.
I got a question here. Question around the data collection and the ticketing side. Great that you want to do data collection. Is there anything in the budget to actually do this? Is this like a proprietary system that you're building? Are you using something existing?
No, we wouldn't have a proprietary system, so we'd use something in place in order to collect that data and generate QR codes in-house, but we did not allocate a budget to build out a proprietary piece of technology or information.
Okay, so in the budget, was there anything for this on the ticketing side? Because I don't really see it in your budget.
In our budget, we did not. We plan to build that in-house with a simple QR code that collects just those fields and then have a database or warehouse using Excel or an easy free-to-use piece of technology that we can convert that data to store.
That would be challenging at scale for it to actually feasibly work.
A couple questions about the concert. Can I buy just a concert ticket if I want to?
Yes, that's something. So, in terms of how we have it structured, we have the ticket package, and one of them is media only if you're interested in the concert and maybe the metal. But we were also looking at a la carte options, so that way we can kind of generate that revenue. Because the idea is with the concert is we can try to get these artists who are only performing maybe once a year, and that one time a year is in Pittsburgh. So if you're a fan of this artist, even if you've never come to Pittsburgh before, you don't want to miss that opportunity if they're only performing once. So to answer that, yes, you can buy just a concert ticket if that's something you're interested in.
Okay, so I think that answers my second question because I was looking at the $20 per, and that would if you 5,000 concert tickets sold, but the venue holds 19,750. So some of these over here also go toward the concert.
So the way we did that is we built the revenue with the Hall of Famer pass, which would include a concert ticket. We assumed that those people would go to the concert, and then the other pass, the media pass, we also assumed that those people would attend the concert, and then we assumed that the venue would be like 75% full, and that's how we multiplied the ticket price, which I believe is $30 per ticket, and then we multiplied that by the remainder, which I think was about 11,000 to get the number that you're seeing there for the projected revenue for the concert.
Got it. All right. So then last question. So if I took the total of the three of those, $255,000, the concert cost $330,000 to put on. Why are we doing that as a loss leader?
We thought that that was our big event and that's our big draw and that's what's going to get people to Pittsburgh, and we think that that as a main attraction justifies itself. I mean, concerts aren't cheap. We looked up what we thought was Khalifa might cost, and we estimated that would be around 300,000. Maybe he'd give us an in-kind discount being from Pittsburgh, but that was our estimate with quick research. Yeah.
Can you guys just speak a little bit? I know that you said that the concert is the main event, and it is the birthday of sports. But in terms of the events throughout the weekend, is there other? It seemed like it was very concert heavy, and then I like the boats and I like how you incorporated the river, but it seems like it's late on the sports front.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So we want to identify our core theme as a birthday celebration for sport, but we recognize that we want to build attendees and get the most amount of people. And so we use those mindsets across the board to get as many attendees there as well, where the underlying theme throughout would be that sports feel. And so although some of our big events don't directly relate to sport, the whole event itself would have that sports feel, especially in the huddle and likewise.
My question is, I'm looking at your locations. Have you gone over to the North Shore and walked around that area? What about the plan of integrating the sports facilities and the history of some of the sports facilities into your programming?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we made sure to be able to go walk over to the North Shore area, be able to walk around. Obviously, we love the backdrop, being able to look at Acrisure Stadium right there. That was one of the big pieces that we want people to also go and explore around the city. We want to be able to help generate. We talked about doing a scavenger hunt passport-like system, so where people can be able to go around and experience a lot of those really historical sports and culture moments around the city. We understand that, where we are in the North Shore is a great spot and it's a great location, and that can really be a great hub to be able to get people, especially with its distance that we have to the neighboring hotels locally, but also be able to give additional opportunities and incentives for them to be able to help go into other areas as well. We're definitely want to be able to tie in that culture, be able to tie in a lot of what makes Pittsburgh special from a sports sense.
There we go. Boat parade. It looks like you have 2.5 hours set aside for that, and we're charging $10 a boat. Okay, and then the revenue that you're projecting looks like you have like 100 boats. All right. What was the thought behind $10 and allocating 2.5 hours for 100 boats?
Yeah, so I think the idea is to create a family-friendly event, but the idea is that the $10 is to create this competition, because if you don't really have an incentive for locals to join, like besides just showing off their boat, they're probably not going to get involved. So by making a $10 entry fee, you kind of create like a prize pool for the winner, and the community can kind of vote on like what boat design they thought was best, or if you do a theme per year, like, oh, they really hit on the theme. But I think the 2.5 hours is just to allow an opportunity. We can even segment it, like you have a rowboat or a kayak, you can be the first half of this. You have a motorboat, you'll be the second half, because in terms of safety, we obviously don't want boats running into each other. But yeah, so it would be that time to kind of like segment what style of boat from non-motorized to motorized, and just allow an opportunity for the community to get involved, for family and friends to get downtown and just watch this experience of lighting up Pittsburgh.
Thank you.
Is it on already? Oh, it is. Okay. Great. I wanted to touch on the sponsorship. I did feel like it came in after the storytelling. Would have loved to have seen it a part of each one of the days and connecting the partners to each one of the events, even having sampling. And also understanding that data collection in QR, it's incredibly powerful, especially to partners. So how would you guys connect the two to rationalize the value that you're asking for to make it worth it for the sponsors to invest?
Yeah, so one of the ideas that we had is the sponsors that are present at our birthday could also set up somewhat of like a vendor booth like we were seeing outside, and they would have access to the QR, not the QR knowledge that we would need to build out. But then that way, if guests went to go visit, they could be able to collect some type of that data as well. Again, it's complicated, and we would probably have to come to some pretty lengthy agreements, but that's at least the idea that we came to, is there's knowledge share there, and it provides value for both parties. What we did leave the brand partnerships later in the slides for was because we wanted to propose some, but we also recognize we're not native to Pittsburgh. And so we want to keep those open for Sports Pittsburgh to take with the structure that we have in place, and they can build some really mutually beneficial partnerships. Hopefully that answers.
Can you just address, I know that on Sunday, you had mentioned that you're going to have former athletes, but there wasn't really a budget item for payment for those people. Can you kind of address that?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part of that?
Sure. You guys have the former athletes coming and doing signing and things of that nature, but I didn't see a line item for paying those people.
Yeah, I think in the first year that we would bring someone local that would do an in-kind service, and then Billie Jean King or let's say Simone Biles would be future growth individuals that have that national presence. And so first year would be someone with local notoriety that we did not include in our budget, but then years moving forward was the reference to someone like Serena Williams or that nature. Yeah, great question.
One more for you. Can you all share a little bit more about how you got the numbers on the estimated reach, how you came up with each of those?
Yeah, so that was with like the podcast and all the marketing, right? Yeah, so basically we estimated that that podcast gets 2 million listeners. We estimated that half of those would listen to any given episode that we had advertised on, and we had 50,000. We didn't know exactly how far that would get us, but we assumed that would at least be an episode or two that we could advertise with. And then as far as the social media targeted ads, we just estimated that since we were spending about the 50,000, the same amount of money that we're allocating to the podcast, we figured with targeted ads through Instagram, TikTok, different social media platforms, we figured we could reach about the same amount of people that we were projecting we could reach for the podcast. And then similar for the other smaller allocations, we based it off of that money spent leading to the amount of people that we could capture. And so that's how those estimates are built out and how we estimate how we could reach the 2.68 million.